Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show the assembly process for Ubo Pro 4, which uses Raspberry Pi 4. When you receive the product, it will come with a USB-C power adapter, Ethernet cable, micro SD card, 64 gigabyte, two speakers, the top PCB, assembly, um, front camera, a small screwdriver, and a heatsink, and also a sideboard. So the first thing I do usually is that I remove the heatsink and the sideboard from the enclosure. There might be one or two screws that you might have to remove, um, but it's just like one step. You remove these from the case, and basically the first step is to connect the Raspberry Pi 4 to the sideboard. So you need to obtain the Raspberry Pi 4 separately, and here I have one Raspberry Pi 4. And for assembly of the first step, you need to align the audio jack with the audio connector here. So I use that as a guide, and then I use my right hand on the PCB, and then left hand on the Raspberry Pi, and slowly push it inside. And while I'm aligning these connectors, I press a little bit more and wiggle these two boards so that they until you can feel them kind of click and go all the way in. You don't need to insert too much pressure, just like wiggle that in little by little, and just feel the connectors going inside and clicking in. And the next step is to connect the micro SD extension cable. So it's basically, it would go into Raspberry Pi micro SD card reader slot on the Raspberry Pi. So this would go here, which will bring back the micro SD card to this location. Now the next step is to insert this sub-assembly in the enclosure. So the way I usually do this is that I go at an angle. So I insert this like at an angle like this. I will try to align the connectors and basically try to align the audio connector and the push button at the back with the hose, and then let it kind of wiggle inside. Now this is already inserted. The next step is to screw down the sideboard and the Raspberry Pi onto the standoffs. So the sideboard uses nylon screws, so these are M 2.5 screws that will come with the product. So use them to hold the sideboard. So I'm going to use them. There are 5 black nylon screws that you would need to screw down the sideboard. I don't usually tighten them all the way through. I just like go a little bit in, but then I will wait until the end to tighten all the screws, so that I would give it a little bit of room to wiggle for better alignment. Okay, and this one, so there are 5 screws. So I got 4 so far, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's one right here in the corner, which is probably the most challenging one because it's a bit hard to reach. Got it. Sometimes you need to wiggle the screws to fully align the hose. All right, and the next step is to insert the camera. So the camera would go next. So this is probably the most challenging step in the process. I'm going to first remove the protective film here, and then you need to kind of like, it's a little bit tight, so you need to wiggle and try to get the lens in the camera hole first, so that the camera assembly can go inside. You can push back the Raspberry Pi a little bit to let it go inside. This is a bit tight. The design is probably going to change in the future to allow for more room, but you need to just like wiggle this a little bit to insert. I got it, and this is now fully inserted. There are 2 screws that you can use to screw down the front camera. They're very small M2 screws, and there's like a rail, plastic rail, that you can basically screw down the camera from the hose. Yeah, as I said, this is probably the most challenging part of the assembly, and just be gentle not to damage the camera in this process. And yeah, you need to align the hose. I got it. Oops. Actually, yep. It's better, like, it's a bit hard to see from the camera, but you can see the hose and align the hose with the 3D printed rails. So there's some 2 3D printed rails with the hose, and okay, got it. So as you can see, I got these 2 screws for the front camera, and it's tight and in place. I'm gonna connect the camera cable. Well, actually, I'm gonna put the heat sinks first. I guess it's gonna be a little bit easier if I do the heat sink first. And I'm gonna use the screws here to screw down the heat sink. Yeah, the camera must go before the heatsink, otherwise it's going to be too difficult to assemble with the heatsink in place. Perfect. Get this down. And then I'm going to place the camera connector here and press down the FPC connector to hold the camera. Okay, to hold the camera cable. And then you need to connect the fan. So the fan red cable needs to go on the right hand side, the left stays on the left hand side, and it would be assembled like this. So it would be basically the connectors will be facing down, so the connector side will be facing down, and yeah, so that's how you assemble the fan cable, and that's pretty much it. And then after that, we need to insert the speakers. So for the speakers, so there are 2 connectors here, like one speaker connector here and another speaker connector here. So you have to remove the covers for these connectors. And for the speaker, you place the speaker here in between the plastic holder and the enclosure ball, and then you press it down and it will fit. So there are no screws for holding down the speakers. And then you connect the connector like this and press it down. You can hear it click. I'm going to repeat the same process for the other speaker. So again, I will go like this. So try to get the speaker wire go through the ports, the Ethernet and USB ports, so that it's not blocking the header connector. It goes down. I'm gonna connect this. Yep, it's gonna go down like this, and then press it down. Okay. connected. Great. And we're done, and you can see the camera here. Perfect. And the last step is to insert the top cover. So for the top cover, you need to kind of align it with the edges of the product, and also you look inside and try to align the connector with the Raspberry Pi connectors, and then once you get it aligned, you just press it down. So you can see it's all pressed down and there's no gap between the top board, and the assembly is finished. And that was the whole process. And you can remove the SD card from the SD card holder and put it in the device and power it up and start using it. Thanks for watching this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post in the comment section, and I hope you enjoy using your Ubo Pod.